fade in. A brittle wind howls across a barren western town. Wooden signs creak, dust coils like snakes across the road. A wagon rattles into view, its wheels groaning beneath weight and wear. A girl, 17, maybe younger, is yanked down. From the back, her hands are bound. Her hair, once golden, is matted with dust. Her eyes, hollow, watchful, still. In 1871, there were many ways to lose your freedom, but few were crueler than being sold to settle someone else's debt. A smoky saloon, laughter and shouting over cards. A trembling hand pushes chips forward. A grizzled man with whiskey eyes sweats as the final card turns. A cold-eyed trader smirks. A rough handshake seals the girl's fate. Back to the street. Townsfolk gather. No one steps forward. Just the wind and silence. Eliza Monroe doesn't scream anymore. She stopped back in Missouri when the first man tied her wrists and loaded her like luggage. Now, she just stares straight ahead. If she doesn't blink, maybe she won't cry. Her father stands off to the side, red-eyed and swaying. He clutches a bottle, muttering something about the war and how life ain't fair. He's already lost the land, the horses, and what little was left of his dignity. But the final debt, the one too steep to ignore, cost him her. Eliza stares at him. He can't meet her eyes. The trader, Kirkland, is known across the territory, not for kindness, not for mercy. He trades in things people shouldn't trade. People, mostly. Young ones, pretty ones. Eliza is both. Lot number 3, Kirkland announces, yanking Eliza forward. Strong, no diseases, barely bites. She stumbles. The crowd murmurs. A few men chuckle. Eliza says nothing. She can't afford to. Her eyes dart across the crowd. The blacksmith's wife, the pastor, Sheriff Holloway. They all know her. None say a word. One boy she kissed behind the mill when she was 13 shifts, awkwardly, and looks away. She looks up at the sky instead. Anything to keep her soul from sinking. Boots crunch gravel. A tall man stands apart, arms crossed. His coat is worn, dusted in trail dirt. His wide-brimmed hat casts a deep shadow across his face, but his eyes gleam beneath, storm gray, unreadable. A silver spur glints at his heel. He doesn't speak. Kirkland narrows his eyes. You buying or just brooding, mister? The cowboy steps forward, slowly, deliberately. He stops in front of Eliza, studies her. Not like the others did. Not like she's property, like he's trying to see something inside her no one else ever bothered looking for. She stares back. Her jaw clenches, ready to spit if he touches her. He doesn't. Instead, he tosses a small leather pouch at Kirkland's feet. It hits with a heavy thunk, coins inside, gold by the sound of it. Kirkland whistles. All that for one girl, though. Cowboy doesn't answer. He unties her wrists himself. His touch is gentle. His hands are rough and calloused, but clean. You got a name? He asks. She blinks. Eliza, she whispers, not sure why she answers him. He nods once. James Hawthorne, he says. People call me Hawk. And just like that, he turns, mounts his horse, looks back at her only once. Let's ride. She follows, too numb to question, too scared not to. The land stretches endless, gray and gold and cruel. Eliza rides behind Hawk, her hands stiff with cold. The horse moves steady beneath her, the only warmth she has. The wind cuts through her. Thin dress like glass, they speak little. Where are we going? She asks once. West, he replies. Why did you buy me? A pause. Felt like the right thing. That's all he says. That night, they camp beneath a gnarled cedar. Hawk sets a fire and offers her a blanket. She takes it without thanks. He chews jerky and watches the shadows. His rifle is always within arm's reach. Coyotes yip in the distance. She pulls the blanket tighter. Later the cries come closer. Wolves this time. She freezes. Something snarls beyond the trees. Her breath fogs in front of her, heart hammering. Then a single shot cracks the silence. A body thuds. Hawk stands calmly, rifle in hand, smoke curling from the barrel. He looks down at the dead wolf. Just one. Others'll back off now. She stares at him, shivering. You weren't scared? He shrugs. You get used to fear. Doesn't mean you let it win. He sits again. She watches him for a long time. Not a monster, maybe, but still a mystery. It's near dawn when the homestead appears on the horizon, nestled against the rise of the Rockies, half wrapped in mist. It isn't large. A single cabin with a porch, a crooked barn, and 3 grazing horses. A fenced pasture, barely holding, but it's quiet, clean, untouched by cruelty. They ride in slow. A hawk screeches overhead and circles once before vanishing into the clouds. Hawk dismounts first, then helps her down, not pulling, not commanding, just offering. She hesitates, takes his hand. He leads her inside. The cabin smells of cedar and tobacco, simple furnishings, a worn blanket on the couch, a Bible on the shelf, no chains, no locks. You'll have the bedroom, he says. I'll take the cot. She turns to him. You don't want anything from me? He meets her eyes. You're not a debt to be collected, Eliza. You're a person. The words hang heavy in the air. He starts toward the door. You're safe here, he says quietly, pausing on the porch. She wants to believe him. But trust is a fragile thing, and hers was shattered long ago. Still, for the first time in weeks, she doesn't feel like crying. She just listens to the wind and the steady breath of the horses outside fade to black. Mornings come early. Eliza rises before the sun, arms sore from splitting logs the day before. She fumbles with the axe again, her grip uneven, swing too high. James watches from the porch, sipping coffee. Says nothing. When the axe slips from her hand and lands in the dirt, she curses under her breath and kicks it. He finally steps down. You'll waste more energy fighting the tool than learning it, he says simply, picking it up. He shows her, not by lecture, but by motion. Controlled, measured. The wood splits clean. They move through the day like that. He mends fences. She feeds chickens. He shoos a stubborn horse into the barn with a click of the tongue. She watches, wide-eyed as it obeys. He never raises his voice, never touches her unless necessary, and never asks questions she doesn't want to answer. Still, she notices things. He always sleeps with his back to the wall, his revolver in reach. He eats in silence, slow and careful. At night, he sometimes walks alone, whispering things to the stars like they're old friends who left too soon. One evening, while sweeping the cabin, she finds a metal box beneath the floorboards, tarnished, locked tight. She kneels down, fingertips brushing the lid. James appears behind her without a sound. Her breath catches. He doesn't yell, just nods once. Some things, he says softly, are better left buried. She places the box back, but something about the way he looked at it told her. It was already haunting him. Montage, grainy sepia tones like old photographs come to life. Laughter, sweet and small, echoes through a field of tall grass. A younger, Eliza chases butterflies, her mother's arms open wide. Cut to a quiet bed. Her mother, pale and still, a baby crying beside her. Her father breaks down at the doorway. He never recovered. Whiskey bottles multiplied like weeds. He stopped planting the corn, then stopped leaving the house. Eliza learned to cook at 10, learned to run from his hand by 12. Her brother Thomas went to war in a blue coat and never came back. She was left to hold the ruins. Back in the present, Eliza sits alone in the barn loft, her knees pulled to her chest. Dust falls like snow around her. A tear rolls down her cheek. She doesn't wipe it away. Winter's edge bites deeper each day. Firewood runs low. Eliza takes the hatchet and ventures out without telling him, pride leading her feet. The trees grow thicker, colder. Shadows move where they shouldn't. She keeps glancing over her shoulder, breath showing in quick clouds. Then, silence. Not peaceful but wrong. A soft growl behind her. She turns slowly. A wolf stands there, low and lean, eyes pale and empty like ice. Then another, and another, a pack. She backs up, drops the hatchet, tries to run. Teeth flash. She screams. From the tree line, a thunder crack. One wolf crumples mid-leap, another crack, then silence. James emerges like a ghost. Rifle still warm, eyes cold, chest heaving. The wolves scatter. He runs to her. Her ankles twisted. Blood streaks her calf. Without asking, he lifts her. She buries her face in his coat. Smells cedar, sweat, and smoke. Back at the ranch, he lowers her to the bed. Cleanse her wound. Wraps it in silence. Finally, she whispers, "I'm sorry." He sits beside her, eyes on the fire. "I told you not to wander," he says, but his voice is softer than she's ever heard it. And something in it shakes, just for a moment, like she'd scared him. A few nights later, smoke curls up from the chimney. Eliza watches from the porch, bundled in James's old coat. Then movement, just past the barn. She stiffens. A man steps from the darkness. He wears buckskin and war paint, a bow slung across his shoulder. Silent, still, like a shadow that learned to walk. James steps out calmly, no rifle in hand. "Waya," he says. "You're early." Eliza's heart pounds. James turns to her. "This is Waya, Apache scout. Don't worry, he's a friend." Waya says nothing, just nods once, eyes scanning her like wind through leaves. Later, around the fire, Waya speaks. His voice is low, steady. "You fear the land. That is wise." He shows her how to walk without sound, how to smell rain before it comes, how to watch the birds. They know what's coming before men do. Eliza listens, learns. She laughs once when Waya deadpans. "You move like thunder on rotten wheels." Even James smirks. She asks them once, "How do you two know each other?" Waya glances at James. James says, "Long time ago. Different kind of war." They don't speak of it again, but when they sit together, watching the fire flicker low, something unspoken binds them, something forged in blood and kept in trust. The moon is high. Coyotes howl somewhere far off, but the fire keeps close its warmth. Eliza and James sit beside it. Waya has already vanished into the hills. She gathers her courage. "Why did you buy me?" she asks quietly, eyes on the flames. He exhales, long, thoughtful, "Because I've seen too many people thrown away like scraps, and I couldn't let it happen again." She looks at him, eyes searching. "Then what do you want from me?" A silence stretches, not heavy, just honest. He finally meets her gaze. "Just to see you heal." She swallows hard, blinks fast. No one's ever wanted that for her, not even her father. She nods, unable to speak. And in that silence, something deeper takes root. Not love. Not yet. But something like it. The wind carried more than dust that day. Hoofbeats thundered down the trail, cutting through the silence of the land like a blade. 3 riders appeared through the haze, shadows against the red dusk. Eliza stepped out of the barn, bucket in hand, her brow tightening. James appeared on the porch, already armed as the horses slowed. At their head rode Carl Beckett, the same traitor who'd once claimed Eliza with a grinning lie and a handshake dipped in sin. His greasy hair was tied back, pistol slung low, eyes cold as canyon stone. "Well, well," Beckett said, smiling without warmth. "Heard my property's been living sweet out here. Thought I'd come to collect." James didn't move, didn't blink. "She ain't yours." Carl chuckled. "Funny thing, debt contracts. There's no expiration. She's worth more now. A pretty little thing with ranch training. I got clients waiting." The 2 riders beside him sneered, hands resting on their weapons. James stepped forward. "You're not leaving with her." "You got guts, cowboy," Beckett said, spitting in the dirt. "But you're outnumbered." Inside the house, Eliza watched from the window, blood pounding in her ears. James's voice was steady. "Get off my land." Carl's hand twitched toward his gun. The standoff turned silent, and then the killing began. The crack of a revolver split the still air like thunder. James moved fast, a blur of muscle and instinct. His first shot dropped one of the riders before the man even got his weapon clear of the holster. Beckett fired, missed, then scrambled behind a barrel near the corral. The third bandit aimed for the house. James turned to shield it, then took a bullet to the shoulder. He stumbled but stayed upright, teeth clenched against the fire in his flesh. Inside, Eliza's breath caught. She saw James fall to one knee, and something broke loose in her, terror and rage. She ran to the wall, pulling down the rifle James had cleaned a dozen times. Her hands trembled. She remembered how he'd taught her to aim, not with her eyes, but with her breath. Outside, the third bandit advanced. James rose, raising his revolver with his uninjured hand. But before he could fire, a whistle sliced through the wind. From the trees, Waya emerged like a specter, bow in hand, arrow notched. Thunk. The arrow struck the bandit clean through the chest. He crumpled. Beckett screamed in fury and rose, aiming for Waya. Eliza burst out the door, rifle in hand, eyes wide but unblinking. She fired. The bullet grazed Beckett's leg. He howled, dropped his gun, and stumbled into the brush, fleeing. Then, all was quiet. James collapsed in the dirt, breathing hard, blood soaking through his shirt. Eliza rushed to him, dropping the rifle. "Stay with me," she whispered, pressing her hands to his wound. His eyes flickered. "You shot straight. You were bleeding. What was I supposed to do?" She choked, tears falling freely. Waya knelt beside them, examining the wound with calm eyes. "It passed clean," he said. "But it will hurt like hell." James grimaced. "Already does." Eliza smiled through her tears. "Good." They got him inside, and for once, it was her keeping him alive. For 3 days and nights, James drifted between pain and fever. Eliza barely slept. She cleaned the wound, crushed herbs Waya brought, fed him broth with shaking hands. She sang old lullabies, ones she barely remembered, to calm him in the dark. He muttered her name in his sleep, over and over, not in fear, in need. One night she sat beside him, staring at the flickering lantern. Her hands were calloused now, her arms stronger. She'd learned to shoot, ride, even gut a deer. She wasn't the same girl who'd cried silently in the back of a wagon. He stirred, eyes fluttered open. "Eliza?" She turned quickly, her face breaking into relief. "I'm here." He tried to sit up. She pressed a hand to his chest. "Lie still, Hawk." He smiled faintly. "You, calling me by name now." She leaned forward, kissed his forehead. "I'm not going anywhere." And she meant it, because this place, this man, this life, it had given her back more than safety. It had given her herself. Spring came. The snow melted, and the earth breathed again. James recovered slowly, arm in a sling, scars like fire maps down his skin. Eliza chopped wood without help. She rode with Waya to set traps. She hunted rabbits and stitched her own clothes. One morning James called her outside. A ticket sat on the fence post. Next to it, a rolled-up envelope. "Train leaves for Denver next week," he said. "Enough money to start fresh. And your freedom papers. All legal." She stared at the items. "I made a promise," he added, "to give you choice." Her fingers touched the envelope. Held it. She turned to look at him. Then slowly, she handed it back. "Freedom," she said softly, "means choosing where you belong." He looked at her, stunned. And for the first time, James Hawthorne, stoic, guarded, weather-worn, let himself smile without sadness. Montage. Eliza rides beside James across golden hills. No words, just wind, sun, and shared breath. She teaches a young colt to walk beside her, calm and sure. James carves a new beam for the barn. His arm stronger now, healed but marked. Waya watches from a ridge one last time, then disappears into The pines, the wind whispering thanks. Eliza stands at the porch, eyes forward, heart open. Voiceover. She was sold like property, but found something priceless instead. Dignity, purpose, and someone who saw her worth. Fade to black. If this story moved you, subscribe. Share it with someone who believes in second chances.